Hey guys, happy October 2020. I keep the ball rolling with another slasher movie review actually, but this time we're going back to the early 80s and it's a movie called Madman from 1981. So, not to be confused with the popular TV series with John Hamm, who was probably a little boy when this film came out, or certainly quite young. So no relation to that. And this movie actually can be found on Shudder, I should say, if I can spit it out. So it's a first time feature actually, and the only film that this director did. And you've got kind of the title character, Madman Marks or Months, or however you say it, who basically stalks like this summer camp. So it's this classic like slasher setup where you have a, a summer camp for kids, but you have like these adult characters who are like in charge of like running the camp. And at the beginning we get that kind of classic setup where they're telling like campfire stories, and obviously they're horror themed. And you get like this particular story from this old guy who's like the head of the camp, and he's telling this story about this farmer who basically went mad and killed his family all these years ago. And he hasn't been seen from, but the legend has it then if you run into the woods and call his name, then he appears. And that's the setup. And obviously with this being a slasher, that's what starts to happen. He starts like stalking the characters and popping up here and there, and we sort of follow the characters and their like relationships. And well, here we go. It's absolutely dreadful. This is absolute garbage, this film. But I would be lying if I said I did not have a bit of fun with it. It was kind of hilariously silly and bad in places, so I just had to laugh, really. I had to laugh at the corny, cheap music, the kind of. It's almost like they're really trying so hard to be edgy and really go for the synth sort of sound, but it literally sounds like something that a 5-year old could have like sort of knocked up in like 5 minutes, where they've just put their finger on like the button. And that's kind of the cheesy closing theme where it actually has the lyrics of something like whatever it is, like beware Madman Marks, or something like that. It's got, yeah, beware the legend of Madman Marks. It's just so hilarious that just the fact that it's thinking, oh, it's almost like you can see them getting excited when producing that song. It's like, yeah, this will really hook them. This is just so dramatic and exciting. And yeah, it is like sort of dirt cheap, but in like a bad way. The look of the Madman is just like ridiculous. It's just hilarious the way they cut around him. For some reason he's got claws, which is like never really explained, because there's nothing in like the backstory that says that this guy is like a monster or supernatural. He's just meant to be like this farmer who's gone mad, but for some reason he's got claws. And when you see him, he's like just this fat dude with a lot of like hair on his face. He is not scary in the least. He moves in the slowest way possible, and yet the characters are meant to be like scared of him. They're meant to be like, oh my god. And it's just a joke because they could escape so easily, so much faster than they actually do in any of the scenes. Um, the direction is just so goofy, the way they telegraph everything. I mean, there's a scene where I think when we first see the Madman, when there's a shot of him up in the tree and one of the characters looks up, and yeah, it just looks so phony the way it's shot. And the characters are just priceless because it's kind of like this almost like this hippy dippy sort of thing. What now? I'll use a good example because there's this character of TP who's he's got like this on off like relationship with Betsy, who becomes like, I guess if you want to say, the final girl. But old TP is such a card because he even has TP on his belt buckle. I mean, he had the gall to call himself TP, or his parents did, and just to add to it, he's got like the magic belt buckle, which is brilliant. But he's kind of one of the ones like dicking around at the start, like telling stories, and so Betsy's like, yeah, you shouldn't be scaring the kids like that. And he kind of he's trying to like seduce her, try and say, well, we've only got so many nights left, and she's like, well, actually, we have many nights after this, which is a good point. But then he counters with, yeah, but you'll forget about me after this. He's like really trying hard. But what is absolutely stupid about their plot, and when they actually get together and sleep together, is they're doing this thing where you've got a group of them in like the kitchen or something, and TP just does this ridiculous sort of speech around the table, and I can't even remember what it is, but it's just some like ridiculously. Oh, it's because he apologizes for like scaring the kids. Like he says, yeah, that was really out of line. And so they start clapping him, and it's like, what is this scene? I mean, does it really deserve a clap? But but what's hilarious is in the next instance, it cuts to them making love, and it's like, okay, well that didn't take much to persuade her. It only took him making this speech. Oh, I'm sorry for scaring the kids. Cut to like a Barry White sex scene, and the music in this scene is just ridiculous. It's so funny. I mean, if you can watch it just for this scene, because it's like this I don't know, Neil Diamond, Barry White type folk mumbo jumbo music, and you get a slow motion of it, and the lyrics that are just so good. I have to find it. It's some claptrap about you've got to find the meaning of the love or something, and the lyrics are just so hilarious. I mean, yeah, I can't even remember. Yeah, there's all sorts. I mean, if I can find, don't. Oh yeah, it's like stuff like don't need words to know. And then there's this line in the song about magician does his magic, drill you with a trick. Oh God, yeah, that scene has to be seen to be believed. But their like whole relationship is pretty funny. Um, but there's all sorts of like corny and rubbish dialogue where like because you have this other girl who's kind of like the other main girl who is like a friend of Betsy, but she's meant to be the more flirtatious big city girl, and they're just talking about the whole thing with TP, and um, yeah, gotta get a grip on your feelings. Don't need. Oh yeah, that's the song. Sorry, I'm getting muddled up. But yeah, it's just things like yeah, they're just saying things like play too hard. Um, you just you just see what you get, you like what you get or something, or I think that maybe I'm probably getting my, but it's all this hippy dippy kind of nonsense. I don't have many female friends. I think you might be the only one, and it's sort of why. I mean, is she really that sort of flirtatious? Is she really the sort of girl who's not gonna have any female friends? I mean, what's going on with this plot? Um, the acting's absolutely awful. It's absolutely wooden. Betsy, for example, looks like she's like a deer trapped in the headlights. Like the kills are absolutely rubbish. The way they sort of cut around them, it sort of look very sort of artificial. There's nothing scary or shocking about them. As I said, the music is absolutely hilarious. Um, the killer as well. I mentioned him with the claws, but he actually like makes monster noises, which is absolutely hilarious. It's like, why? Um, the one sort of scene, or the one like kill I did like, which is almost like this slapstick sort of moment, is that one of the guys, Dave, who's like one of the early victims, he his body pops up and one of the girls finds it and it pops up and he's got no head, and obviously she freaks out. So I did enjoy that moment. Maybe they thought it would be a cool like Halloween type moment, except he's got no head. Yeah, ooh, that'll scare them. But I did actually enjoy that moment. But actually, you get like this other couple, and the girl Ellie, she's one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in a slasher movie, maybe in any movie. And for a while, I had this horrible feeling she was going to be the final girl. And the other thing about this film, it's only like 80 minutes long or 89, something like that, so it's at least short, but they just draw out every little scene, especially late on. They just draw it out, hoping they all get tension that way, even though it's, yeah, the least tense thing you've probably ever seen. But the scenes with Ellie just being really ditzy and just, being the kind of stereotypical scaredy cat female. I think the actress is just terrible, as everyone in this film is. Their acting, and she is one of the most annoying characters I've seen in a film for a very long time. So I'm so relieved she wasn't the final girl. But what's funny about that is Betsy reappears at the end, and she obviously becomes like the final girl of the film. But I didn't see her die, so I assumed she would come back at some point. But she just reappears out of nowhere. It's like she went into the woods like looking for her friends, and then she just reappears, and it's like, okay, so random. It's like, where has she been all this time? But this film clearly doesn't care, and that's about all I can say about it. It's really really bad, but at least in a cheesy kind of so bad it's actually quite entertaining sort of way. Kind of hilariously bad dialogue, cheesy music, terrible characters, terrible villain, terrible dialogue. I said terrible dialogue. I've already said that, but it looks really, really cheap. It looks a bit like a stoner's home video. Basically, it's shot in that sort of way. The editing is all over the place. It does look like whoever put this together was on acid or something, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that can be really like enjoyable and like trippy, but no, this I guess this is trippy in a way, but not in the way they intended. So I'll give it 2 out of 10. I'll give it the 2 just because it is kind of goofy fun at times. It is sort of so bad it's kind of entertaining. But that's the thing, it's also quite boring. It does actually drag despite being a short movie, but I would be lying if I said I didn't at least laugh at it on occasion. So there you have it. That's Madman. That's another kind of 80s slasher I've ticked off. And the sad thing is, I probably will watch it again. I wouldn't be surprised if I owned this on DVD at some point. But there you go. That's my review of Madman, or Madman. I said Madman then. Freudian slip. Nothing to do with the TV show. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Obviously, like and subscribe, help to keep these reviews coming. And let me know what you guys have been doing for October as well. Any special plans? What movies have you been watching? And I'll be back soon with more horror movie reviews. And I'll also be doing special live streams throughout the month. And I'm planning 1 or 2 book readings as well on stream. So that's something to look forward to, I hope. But I'll see you guys again soon. Take care.